Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, Vikings Vent Line. Every weekend on the Purple Daily YouTube channel and podcast feeds. This is a show for Vikings fans. Maybe you have discovered the show for the first time, or maybe you have been listening and watching this podcast and you haven't really understood what this is. Vikings Vent Line is a show for exactly who it sounds like. It's for the Vikings fans. So if you have thoughts on the offseason, on the upcoming season, the draft, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me a note if you'd like to be a part of a future episode of Vikings Vent Line. To get on the show or to get scheduled, you can email me. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. That's the place to be. Send me an email if you'd like to be on a future episode. Then during the regular season, if you're not familiar, for those who probably are very familiar with, during the regular season, immediately after every Vikings game, Mackie, Judd, and myself bring on a barrage of fans to talk about the game. But in the offseason, I still like to catch up with fans. So if this is a show you'd like to be a part of, you can hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. You can also be thankful for our friends at Standard Heating and Air. Standard Heating making sure that HVAC system is all working appropriately. It's summertime now. You don't want to make if that AC's been on the fritz maybe for the last couple months or even, heaven forbid, the last few years and you're worried about it going out. Call our friends at Standard Heating. Or maybe you just need some regular old maintenance. And instead of watching TikToks and YouTube videos on how to do your own maintenance, let the experts handle that. You can contact them too any way you want. They make that easy for you. So whether that's via phone, email, text, they just want to make your life easy as possible. So tell them that Purple Daily sent you and go to standardheating.com to learn more. All right, let's get our guys in here, Henry and Zach. Henry, you said you're from Minnesota, but in Cincinnati in the middle of Joe Burrow territory.
Yep.
But you haven't met too many Vikings fans. Are you basically Sunday ticketing? Like, how are you kind of consuming Vikings games down there?
Yeah, so maybe I shouldn't say this online or anything, but we have YouTube TV, and so what I do is I have my mom log in, and you can trick it to thinking your location's back in Minnesota. So that's how I get the local feed.
Yeah, I used to do that like 6 years ago in the early iterations of YouTube TV, and like I think even me and my friends, and even had a couple coworkers at school at the time, we all just shared the login because you could have up to 4 people or something. So now they've cracked down on the password sharing and the screen time, which can be tough. Zach, how about you though, man? Are you in Minnesota? You somewhere else? Where are you at?
I'm in St. Peter.
St. Peter. Okay, very nice, very nice. Been there your whole life, I take it, or?
No, I moved here a few years ago. I'm originally from Waseca.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yep.
Went to MSU for a little bit. So
yeah,
on this area.
Very nice. Well, guys, let's get into this here. Appreciate you two dudes jumping on Vikings Vent Line with me. Henry, I'm going to start with you here. So looking at the NFC North, it's a pretty stacked division. Obviously, they sent 3 teams to the playoffs last year, probably even a good case where they'll send 3 again potentially. Give me your preview of the NFC North. Give me how you think the standings finish from first to fourth place, or however you want to go about it. But how do you think the NFC North shakes out for you?
Yeah, it is interesting how good the NFC North is. I have a lot of buddies I went to college with from all over the Midwest, and so it's fun to have, all of us. We talk a lot of smack about how we have the best division in football, how these games are always, black and blue. But honestly, I've been thinking about it a lot in the offseason because I think the Vikings have a really, really good team this year. And if I want to start from the top, I'm still going to give the Lions their benefit of the doubt. I think they're going to be first in the division this year. They have lost a lot. Coordinators, linemen, etc. But until they're dethroned, I feel like you got to give them the benefit of the doubt there. Then I'm going to go Vikings. I think they're the second best team in the division. Defense is great. Offense should be solid at worst. And, great coach, all that stuff. Then I'm going to go Packers at 3. I think Jordan Love is fine. I think a lot of people just have I think the Packers just have that quarterback aura, and everyone just kind of talks them up. I don't think they're that good. I think Matt LaFleur is a great coach, but I don't know how much the supporting cast is. And then finally, I'm gonna have the Bears at the bottom. This is my hot take for the day. I think Ben Johnson's gonna be a horrible coach.
Okay.
I think just in some of the interviews I've watched, he's just a little too corny for me. And like, if you look at all these good coaches around the league, KOC, LaFleur, Andy Reid, Shanahan, McVay, I mean, I feel like they're more like stoic leader types. I just don't think Ben Johnson is cut from the same cloth, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out. It's one of those guys that's going to be a great coordinator, but maybe not a great head coach. So.
It feels very Bears-like, doesn't it? Like, it feels like they're on the precipice of maybe actually doing something really cool here, but then they bring in a guy who's probably a fish out of water in terms of trying to be a head coach, and that's been like the story of the Bears for the last 20 years. So, yeah, I think until proven otherwise, people aren't going to be buying Bears stock. I know nationally it feels like people are buying it, right? Because it's a bigger market, and yeah, they have the new head coaching hire, and they spent, just like the Vikings, they spent a lot of money in free agency. But I think those among NFC North fans, so if you were talking to Lions, Packers, and Vikings fans, I think all of them would even group together and say, not so fast, at least not so fast between those other three teams.
I totally agree. Like, I feel like we all know each other again, because I have like these buddies that are from Chicago, from Detroit. I feel like we all know each other, our teams, so well because we play each other so often. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like keep your friends close, but your enemies closer type stuff. You know, you just really keep track of what their personnel moves and all that. So yeah, no, I think everyone's on the same page with the Bears.
Zach, how about you, man? Do you have the Vikings winning this division? Are you not quite there yet? How do you kind of have the NFC North shaken out?
I want to say the Vikings won, but I'm still giving it to the Lions. A lot's being said about what they lost or whatnot, but we forget last year they lost basically their entire defense, and they're still won the division. So I'm still giving it to them until, we see that McCarthy is more than what Darnold was last year, or God forbid, even better, Yeah. So then the Vikings too. I still think they're better than the Packers, who I have at 3. I think the Packers are still like an offensive weapon away, a little bit more maturing with that team. And then I got the Bears in the basement because bear down,
Yeah.
On the Ben Johnson thing, I think he gives me kind of Josh McDaniels vibes, where he's a really good offensive coordinator, but does he have the people skills to make a team into a team and be a leader? I don't know.
That's a good comp. Because when Henry brought it up the first time, I was trying to think like, all right, who else? I mean, they've had Eberflus, who wasn't a good coach. Who was the other bozo they had? Adam Nagy?
Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy. I'm thinking Adam Gase. Matt Nagy, who was also kind of a bozo. But I can see there's probably some Josh McDaniels in there to him for a little bit. That's probably a pretty good comp. The Packers, they have like really good depth of weapons, but yeah, to your point, none of them has emerged into like a Justin Jefferson or St. Brown with the Lions. Like, they have yet to have one of those stud guys. I know if you're a fantasy football dude and you're a Packers fan, it's like almost impossible to pick the wide receiver unless you pick all of them, because you have to like handcuff them just to figure out which one is going to have the bigger day. But if they are, probably to your point, like they are a playmaker away, like a legitimate one from like putting themselves maybe over the top in the NFC North. I think the Vikings could win this division, but yeah, I need to see it play out. I need to see it play out before I completely go there, because it's just it's stacked, man. It still is, even with the Bears maybe being bearsing a little bit. I still think it's probably going to be the toughest division, top to bottom, in football. Henry, what excites you the most about the Vikings in this year? I know JJ McCarthy probably excites you too, but what excites you the most about the Vikings next season?
Yeah, I mean, JJ McCarthy's the obvious one. Like, it's just fun to have like a young franchise QB again. We haven't had this since Teddy. And I think, like, even though he's an unknown, I feel like the unknown is what's fun about it. So that's exciting. But I think the main thing is I'm just excited that the Vikings are like a well-run organization with like a clear vision. I get really frustrated when the teams I support, like the Twins, which I'm sure you could speak on, they just don't have like a logical plan to win a championship, Mm-hmm. So I thought for the Vikings, it was kind of illogical to have Kirk on the team, because it's, in my opinion, it's the whole salary cap argument that you guys have gone over 1,000 times. If you're paying this much money to like a mid quarterback, it's just mathematically you're never going to do it. Like, it's just such an improbable thing to win a championship with that system. And so to have the young QB and have a stacked roster because of that QB contract. I feel like that's just the right way to go about things. And it's just so fun that we're being run that way. You know, like if McCarthy's bad, you reset it, whatever, it sucks. But like, I love that the decision makers are taking the right steps, in my opinion.
Yeah, even though, and I don't think he ends up, the Teddy situation was a catastrophic injury that no one saw coming. Ponder was obviously this epic bust, and they never really came up to fruition with Kirk. They have kind of always been able to shrug that off and not gone into a complete tailspin where like the Browns are picking their 5th quarterback, right, in the top half of the draft over the last 15 years, and 3 years later, they're still at the same spot, still trying to figure out how to win. The Vikings have always been incredibly consistent and really good at moving on or adapting from their plan. You know, you use the words championship plan, comparing it to like other Minnesota sports teams, and it does feel like there's like I know it sounds crazy for other people hearing it, but and for Vikings fans too, there is a path. Like it makes sense what they've been building towards and what they're doing. And I think that's why it is so exciting. Now, Vikings fans tend to get their hopes crushed at the worst possible time. That is our Super Bowl. But there is a path there where that all totally makes sense. So it's a good thing to be excited about. Zach, how about you though, man? What excites you about the Vikings this year?
It's the trenches. It's the best our trenches have seemingly been going into a season, I think, since 2009 with the Williams Wall, Hutchinson, and Burke. It's got a similar vibe to that trench. I mean, it's very different schemes defensively and offensively and whatnot. But it's the first time, I think, in my lifetime, well, besides 2009 and prior to that, that I feel confident in our defensive linemen, like as a whole. So I'm just excited to see a clean pocket, holes to run through where our running back's not getting touched a yard behind the line of scrimmage every play. And then, Jordan Mason running behind that line, I'm excited about, because if only one guy does get through, I'm confident that he can make that one guy miss. Yeah. And then Jones will come in and switch it up. They're completely different players, and just the trenches, hopefully running the ball. Hopefully it feels like we get ran on by pretty much every team we play. I mean, they run it at 6-7 yards every single play, and it's just hard to stop a team that can do that. So that, along with our elite edge rushing, I want to watch that defense cook. I want to watch that flow defense.
Yeah, they have had a leaky run defense now for the last like 5 or 6, and they've patched it up a little bit here and there. But since basically like Linval Joseph walked away or kind of faded out a little bit, they've been a sieve. I mean, like Harrison Phillips is a solid player, but now you plug in Jonathan Allen, you plug in Hargrave. Now you might be in a good spot. I don't think they'll be like Williams Wall at the peak, where no one could run on the team up the middle, but at least plugging away at that, because that chips away time of possession, and then that's a leaky thing. And on the flip side of the offensive line for the Vikings that they've built, it's the first time depth-wise. It really feels sound. And injuries are always a thing, but if the line stays healthy, it has potential to be one of the best in football, and hopefully can hold up McCarthy and provide also Mason and Aaron Jones with good opportunities to run the football. So those are all good stuff. Henry, what is your earliest Vikings memory?
Yeah, so I was born in 2000, so I grew up with AP. I think my earliest memory is probably his 296-yard game, his rookie year. Actually, funny story about that. So if you remember, T-Jack got hurt in like the first quarter or something of that game, and Brooks Bollinger came in and pretty much handed the ball off the whole game. So I played football at Creedon-Durham Hall, and Brooks Bollinger was my head coach.
Oh, yeah.
For a couple of years there. And so I would always ask him about that. And he was like, I don't know. We would just like hand the ball off, turn around and start laughing, so that was kind of funny, a full circle moment. But yeah, other than that, I'm not even going to bring up 2009. My favorite memory growing up that was early is probably when that week 17 game against the Packers, where AP got over 2,000 yards, got us to the playoffs. Yeah. That was electric. And classic Vikings fashion, we lost the next week to them right away. But
right.
That was still a fun week.
Yeah, it was. Ponder played so well his arm broke. Literally his bicep
Did Joe
fell
Webb
off.
start the playoff game?
Yeah, Joe Webb did. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and then ends up being a brutal game. But yes, that was a fun. That was a rant because that team before was like 3-13 that season prior, and then they had a kind of a miraculous run to the playoffs, literally on the back of a AP year. Zach, how about you though? What was your earliest kind of Vikings memory that you remember?
I remember Culpepper getting hurt in that one year and Brad Johnson coming in. So I sort of started, I was about 10 years old at that time. So I sort of started following them, but then they drafted Peterson. And then like that was my first jersey. That was, Adrian Peterson was the man around here, to a 10, 12-year-old kid. He's a superhero. So yeah, I'd say like 06, 07. I remember, funny you brought up, not wanting to bring up 09, but before that game, I had a Brett Favre poster on my wall in my room. And I remember putting my hand up to the poster and I said a prayer before the game. And then I remember that game, I cried after that game.
Yeah.
So it's after that, Blair Walsh missed that kick. And I remember I was watching with my brother and we just kind of laughed. I mean, it was.
I was at that game.
Oh, that's brutal.
Couldn't feel my toes after the first quarter.
Yeah, that was an awful, awful day. I had food poisoning all day that day. Like that day stands out to me so vividly, and the missed kick was like not even the thing I remember the most. Like it was just the cherry on top of it. Legitimately like one of the worst physical days of my entire life. Yeah, we all remember where we were in those iterations. What's sad is, or like not sad, but if you have like a 12-year-old brother or maybe like a 10-year-old Vikings fan who was only like 1 year old for that, they might remember the Minneapolis Miracle if they were like 2 or 3 years old, which I doubt. But like that's the funny part is every generation has those kind of steps. Like I remember, like I was born in 92, so I remember 41 Donut was like kind of my first conscious Vikings season. And that just like laid the groundwork for other heartbreaks. So next generation, hopefully, knock on wood, they don't have to deal with that anymore. But we're Vikings fans, so we'll have to prepare them for it. Hey, dudes, before we wrap up here, Henry, any other last takes? I know you had the great hot take there earlier in the show, but any other takes, any shout-outs you'd love to give here on Vent Line? The floor is yours.
Yeah, my last take is if J.J. McCarthy is good, we're going to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. It's like that's just what I believe. And that's, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the championship vision. It's like you've set yourself up perfectly. Best wide receivers in the league, great defense, good O-line. If McCarthy's good, we will win a Super Bowl. That's just what I believe.
Yeah.
Shout out to my dad for getting me into the Vikings, obviously from an early age. And shout out to my girlfriend for putting up with me. She's from Cleveland. We live here in Cincy. And so a lot of Vikings on. She doesn't mind watching the Vikings instead of the Browns. So
that's good. Yeah. That's good. At least you got that going for you. Oh, Guardians fan though, I take it.
She is, and
Guardians
so there's a lot of smack talk there.
Yeah, that sounds tough. That'd be tough for me. That'd be very tough for me if my wife's from here, luckily from Minnesota, so I won't have to deal with that. But I say a prayer for you with dealing with all that stuff.
The worst is from her dad. He's non-relenting.
Yeah, Cleveland fans talk a big game.
They're good fans, man.
Yeah, they are good fans. I do give you that, but they do talk a big game. Zach, how about you though? Any last takes? Any shout outs here on Vent Line?
I think my last take is that over under this year. What is it, 8.5? That's free. Just like last year, you took the over, Declan.
Yeah,
I think it's free again this year because I don't think McCarthy's much of a downgrade, if at all, to Darnold, and we've improved the roster completely from last year. It's like it's free money. Take it to the bank. Shout out my girlfriend for listening to my Vikings takes and Timberwolves takes, even though she doesn't have a clue what I'm talking about. She smiles and says, cool,
Yeah.
Shout out to my brothers, Sean and Tyler, who we hold a group chat year round. It's constant smack talk about Vikings, Timberwolves, fantasy football. Just want to tell them that I'm coming for them this year. I know they're going to watch this episode.
Hell yeah.
I'm winning.
Hell yeah.
So,
love that. Love that.
Shout out to you guys too, for all the
you.
content. And my work is kind of boring each day. So I look forward to about 10, 11 o'clock when the episodes start posting. And I have something to look forward to because my job, I would fall asleep without you guys, to be honest. So thank you. Shout out to you guys.
Appreciate you, Zach. Thank you so much. Henry, Zach, great stuff here on Vikings Vent Line. Again, anyone wants to be on a future episode, you can hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. You can tweet at me too at Texas Tweets. Doesn't matter. Purple Daily, we are daily Vikings entertainment where we just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.